Hello, I'm Richard Bryant, Executive Director of Musco Center for the Arts at Chapman University here in Orange, California. Welcome back to our At the Musco online series, where you can connect in real time with faculty, students, professional artists, and one another, all engaged in what we call the art of community. Our At the Musco Ever a Dancer series puts long-lived and emerging dance practitioners in conversation about cultural equity, social justice, representation, and creative pursuits. Tonight, Musco Center and Copa's Department of Dance are pleased to welcome Broadway legend and original cast member of A Chorus Line, Ron Dennis, nationally recognized local tap educator and performance veteran Brandee Lara, and viral sensation and Syncopated Ladies founder Chloe Arnold. We invite you to be part of our conversation. Please join in with your comments and questions about tap dance and the state of dance in the YouTube or Facebook chat features. And now, here's your host, Musco Center's Napoleon Gladney.
Good evening and welcome to our Ever a Dancer online series in partnership with the Department of Dance at the College of Performing Arts at Chapman University. Thank you so much, Richard. This is an At the Musco online event putting dance at the center of the conversation. I'm Napoleon, your host this evening. If this is your first time joining us, welcome. Please take a moment to like, follow, and subscribe to Musco Center on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. You can also join our email list for updates on new happenings and online events just like this one at muscocenter.org. Our next Ever a Dancer series event will take place on Thursday, December 10th with Donald Byrd of Spectrum Dance Theater. We have already received some great questions from viewers, which we will be incorporating in tonight's conversation. Please ask those questions that you have that come up in the chat, and we will try to get them answered live tonight. I am so excited to welcome Chloe Arnold, Brandee Lara, and Ron Dennis. Thank you all so much for being here.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
First, I want to check in with each of you. Tell us where you're joining us from and how you're doing tonight. Ron, let's start with you.
Los Angeles, California.
Wonderful.
Sort of like on the cusp of West Hollywood and wherever I am. Yeah.
Perfect. Brandee, how are you? Where are you joining us from?
I am joining you from beautiful Long Beach, California.
Absolutely. And Chloe, welcome.
Well, hi, I'm joining you from Los Angeles, California, and I'm feeling great.
Yes, yes. Tonight's conversation is about the tap dance diaspora. Let's start with each of your tap dance origins, or your origin stories, if you will. And let's learn about some discoveries that you made about the art form along the way as well. Ron, let's start with you.
My origins. I was thinking about this last night as I was dozing off. My family, my mom and my dad certainly didn't promote my dancing. Growing up in Ohio in the 50s and 60s, that was not a thing a boy does. I mean, we've heard that over and over and over from most male dancers anyway. But her name was Miss Bessie Grady, and I lived in an all-black small community surrounded by a large white community in Ohio. And she somehow sort of knew that flitting around dancing sort of me needed to be in this dance class that the local community center was teaching. I went, and I took to it like a duck to water. And it was very rudimentary tap class at that time. And we also had a modern dance class that a teacher taught. And we wore yellow, like orangey oilcloth slickers and little black briefs underneath. And in the tap class, we wore little white socks with the little black tap shoes. And that's where I started. And after about a year of doing it with her, I was teaching the local neighborhood girls the little routines I was learning in the community center class that they weren't taking. That's where I started.
Very nice. That's awesome. Brandee, let us know about more of your story.
Well, I grew up in Los Angeles, California, and I was pretty fortunate. My parents understood my desire to dance. My mom put me in dance class before kindergarten. I was an only child, and she said, I wanted you to make friends. So I guess that was how I was going to learn how to make friends. My first dance teacher was Melvin Kaiser, and Melvin had been a professional dancer, I think primarily in the 50s. And also, after Melvin passed away at a pretty young age, a lot of his students, we went to another wonderful dance teacher in the San Gabriel Valley, Mary Lou Privé, who had also been a professional dancer. And tap was a thing I loved. My parents saw that, and because we lived in LA, close enough to go to Al Gilbert's classes, not all the time, but now and then, he was pretty well known. And oh, and Mary Lou had been a student of Louis Dupron, whose rhythms are just, I mean, to this day, they are something to study. So I was pretty fortunate growing up here in Los Angeles, and getting to take from the people that I took from.
Great, Brandee. Chloe, tell us more about your tap origin story.
Well, I was born and raised in Washington, D.C., in a great city. And during the time when I was a kid, when I was 9 years old, the movie Tap came out in theaters, starring Gregory Hines, and that really was a game changer for me. It inspired me around the art form. I had been taking it, in a pretty just generic kind of program, and then that made me fiercely want to tap. And fortunately, during that time, Gregory Hines was also giving back and traveling around and doing master classes. So when I was 10, I got to take master classes from Gregory Hines. I got to see him perform live. Harold Nicholas came to DC, Eddie Brown, Buster Brown, Harriet Brown, LaVon Robinson. So from a very young age, from 9 to 12, I had a very concentrated amount of guest master teachers coming into DC to pour into the community, and I was fortunate to learn from them. And then I had an incredible woman who took me under her wing named Toni Lombre, who's no longer alive, but she just saw something in me, this passion for tap, but really nurtured it by challenging me to expand my skill set, to understand my body and my placement and my movement, and to learn more. So in order to be in the tap company, we had to take ballet and modern and jazz. And that was very helpful because it was the bridge to my longest lasting mentor, which is Debbie Allen. And she's the person who really gave me the wings to fly and create my own lane and my own voice in the field of tap and entertainment.
Oh, wow. That's amazing, Chloe. Ron, when did you realize that you wanted to turn your passion that you had as a child as a dancer into a professional pursuit? And how did you go about chasing your dream?
That first class did it. I sort of knew that that's what I wanted to be, because anytime there was dance on television, like Ed Sullivan's show or Eric Como or any of the shows back in those days that a lot of the younger audience probably don't know about or remember, I was glued to that black and white TV. And my father would be in his room screaming to me, "Turn that damn TV down, boy." And I get up close to it so I could hear the music and hear their taps. And I was obsessed. And if there were black tap dancers on television, which was rare, often, I was even more attracted to the television set. And I practiced the routines as best as I could remember what I saw, the few steps that my mind remembered and went during the day. And it was something I knew early on. And like most dancers, I think it becomes a passion when you know that that's the thing I have to do, because I had no backup plan. And it just sort of matriculated along the way. And a year after high school, I decided to move to New York. And I had been working right after high school because we couldn't come up with the money to send me to Butler University, where I had been accepted as a dance major. My family didn't have any money and my uncle didn't want to help pay for it. So I got a job at E.F. McDonald's Plaid Stamp Company. And they were the company that distributed the plaid stamp. Remember the plaid stamp? Well, you guys are too young. Brandee would know maybe. Plaid stamps came in a book when you went to the supermarket, and you collect.
Oh yeah, yeah, of course.
Plaid stamps, green stamp, S&H green
Yeah.
stamp. So they didn't have a redemption center. They sent me to the Redemption Center in New York because I worked in the parent company office in Dayton. So for 2 years, I would run out of the I can't think at the moment, the plaid stamp distribution center to run downtown to take ballet class or tap classes,
Oh wow.
whatever was available at 7 o'clock at night when my shift was over. And that's how that all started. And one thing led to another after 2 years in New York of auditioning. And when I got my first job in 1996, 66, Ronald, I kept working, you know? It's hard going back looking at your career when you're this age and you go, wow, I've been doing this for that long, even though you know it, but you don't talk about it with people very often. So my mind is going, wow, I did all of that. Yeah. Memories. Yeah. It saved my life. If I hadn't been dancing, I would have been one sad little gay kid, you know? It was the thing that gave me fire to keep going because there were no friends. The little neighborhood boys didn't want to play with me. You know, I was a sissy in the neighborhood. But this is the only sissy in that neighborhood that ever did anything in showbiz of any note. I'll tell you that.
Woo!
Absolutely,
Yeah.
Ron.
Let 'em know.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Chloe, you talked about creating your own lane. Can you tell us what you mean by that?
Well, yes. So when I was, growing up in DC, so like K through 12, when I look back, while my main teacher was a woman, Tony Lombre, all of the superstars in tap that were coming, aside from Diane Walker and Harriet Brown, who most people don't unfortunately know their names, the superstars were all men. And they were very inspiring to me. And at that time, I was a big dreamer. And so I was like, oh, I'm going to do what they do. And then I went to Columbia University and I was in New York. And then reality started to unfold where I was looking at, well, what are the actual job opportunities for me, right? Because when I was younger, I'm like, do whatever. I could dream it is happening. And then it got to New York and I was like, whoa, okay. There are Broadway shows, like a 42nd Street, where the chorus line is predominantly white, very rigid in body type and height. And I was neither fitting to those as a curvy woman, Black woman. And then I looked at, okay, well, where are the lead female roles? There are none. And then especially no Black female roles in tap. So then I looked at, okay, there's a Bring the Noise, Bring the Funk, all male, Black male cast. There's Tap Dogs, all white male cast. So wait a minute, this dream that I have, like, I'm gonna break in the industry. Whoa, there was no break in. And so I had to start thinking about, what do I actually really want to do? Who do I actually want to be my audience? Because that's something that I really learned in my growth process. So often we get pigeonholed into idolizing what people view as successful. So for example, being on Broadway or doing concert dance was seen as the coveted thing. And then what happened for me that was really magical is this beautiful thing called the internet. It allowed me to create what I imagined as the Black woman in tap and bring together women of color in tap to amplify our voices and create a new audience that is multi-generational, multicultural, and global without needing the permission of the men in my field or industry or the institutions that are so exclusive. And so it's been incredible because the internet is an equalizer. It's very honest. It's very real. You get, and you're able to bring in those that really want to rock with you. And so it's been incredible because now I have new friends all around the world of all walks of life that really celebrate us as Black women being proud of our own voices. And so I think I think the main message that I like to send off is to be yourself, be your greatest self, and people will enjoy it. And you know, you'll have haters, that's a natural part of life, but the love far outweighs any bits of hate.
Oh, I love that. I love that word. Yes. Let them know, Chloe. We actually have a great clip of you speaking a little about creating your own lane, and you perform a short solo. This is done with Elle. Let's take a look, and after we can talk about who has been centered in the tap ecology and how shifts and changes have occurred.
When I started pursuing tap dance, I was so inspired by these legends of the dance, but the history of our art form is incredibly male dominated. I realized that this is a boys' club. I really had to think outside of the box and allow myself to have the freedom and confidence to find my own style and not let people trap me into what they think tap dancing is. And that includes the sensual side, the strong side, the intellectual, the artistic, the heartfelt. And that's what I had to realize about my artistry. I don't want to be a part of the club. I want to have my own voice, and I want to be free, and I want to encourage other people, both women and men, to find that for themselves.
Now your average girl, she put together like she made the world. She on high even when she on the low. There's something about it that I gotta know. I gotta know. She's so confident. I love the way she moves. She's so confident. I love the way she moves. I see you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for that, Chloe. Thank you so much.
Thank
After
you.
watching that clip, I would love to talk more about the ways in which the face or image of tap that's held in the public consciousness has shifted over time. Chloe, for you, can you tell us more about some of the gender barriers that you've encountered as you've made your rise? And what are some positive changes and things that you've seen with your work?
Well, again, if I just like take a brief history, if I go through and look at some iconic influences, we have Bilbo Jangles Robinson, John Bubbles, the Nicholas brothers, Barry brothers, Sammy Davis Jr., Gregory Hines, et cetera, right? And so again, taking nothing away from these icons because the work is what made me want to do it, right? However, I never knew until the internet that there was a Jenny Lagan, or that there were, Lois and the Miller brothers, or that there was
The Whitman
Monica
sisters.
Pitt,
Oh,
the Whitman sisters,
yeah.
etc. Right? So all of these incredible women existed. It's not that women were not there. It's not that Black women were not there. It's that they were not getting the same notoriety and being locked into history, and having their stories be told. So that was something, as soon as I came to the realization of where I was in the world, because like I said, as a young person, I was such a big dreamer, like I could do anything. And then you have that reality of, wait a minute, can I do anything? And then it motivates your purpose to say, wait, I have to do what I imagined, right? And so at first I had the support, honestly, of all of the men in my field. They were totally on board when I was an underdog. They were my friends. When in 2013, when Beyonce shared our work, and we went from being, some sweet little girls with a dream to, hold on, we have a global platform now with millions of people watching. We're now on television. We're, in a new position of autonomy and control over how we're seen, the moves we do, what we wear, what our message is. Then that was when I started to receive a lot of backlash from some of the leading men in my field who were not expecting this status quo to shift. They were expecting to be the gatekeepers forever. And it was that paradigm shift was uncomfortable for some. I will give a shout out to Jared Grimes, who is now, to me, just one of the greatest icons in tap, young icons. And he always supported us from the day one to now to this day. And so there are some incredible men that are in our corner, but the ones that I thought would be there, who were part of my life before we were successful, abandoned ship. And it was difficult because the hardest thing is when people you look up to or that you love turn their back on you. That is a real test of your spirit and your grit. And I'll say I'm really proud of the ladies because we took the Michelle Obama route, which is when they go low, we go high. And we kept it positive and joyful. And so now it's been 7 years of sisterhood and bonding and really living our dreams. 7 years of actually getting paid to do the work. We've been a company for 17 years. So it took 10 years for us to establish a presence and get people to see the work and feel the work. And now we've been working consistently for 7 years. So this is a 17-year endeavor with the Syncopated Ladies. And then for all of us, a lifelong endeavor as a dancer, because you start this young and you do it forever.
Oh, that's amazing, Chloe. And it's so interesting how people don't see the work that goes before the launch, right? And you're like, nope, we've been here. We've been doing the work.
Yeah, and I'd like to say that Brandee witnessed the beginning of Syncopated Ladies, and she's been around for the entire journey and been a real champion for our work when we had no money, no gigs, when we had gigs, very little money, to now. And so it's really amazing. And that's why community is everything, because it doesn't work without a team.
So
absolutely,
true.
Absolutely. Brandee, can you tell us a little bit more about your advocacy work and your education background?
Well, one thing I'd like to do is kind of go back to what Chloe was saying about these legends in the tap world that she was fortunate enough to take class from and dance with at a young age. Here in Los Angeles, and Ronald, I'm sure it was the same in Ohio at that time, there wasn't, in the 60s, there really wasn't a tap scene. There were clubs that once in a while someone would appear, but they were kind of coming through town. The West Coast, the biggest tap scene on the West Coast was in Northern California, in San Francisco, but not so much here. And throughout the 60s, there was one man who honestly was my idol and the reason I really kept tap dancing, and that's Arthur Duncan. Arthur was on the Lawrence Welk show every week And I have to say, my parents hated that show, Ronald. Remember the Lawrence Welk show? Right? Arthur was it. Arthur was it in the 60s.
Yeah.
You know, and I can still hear my parents calling me. They would only watch it so that their, little tap dancer could watch Arthur Duncan. And I can still hear them saying, Brandee, Arthur's going to be on. And I would run in and I would flail around in front of the TV trying, because there was no on demand in those days, okay? If you missed it, that was it. So, I would try, okay, if I could just leave tonight remembering one of the steps he did. And that's what really kept me going. And, like everyone else, like what Ronald was saying, you did your local thing. And it wasn't until I had my first professional show and I was in Las Vegas. And someone said, Maceo Anderson lives here in Vegas and he gives tap lessons. Well, he was a member of the Four Step Brothers. And along with the Berry Brothers, these guys, you got to watch some of that footage. It's out there on YouTube. And I mean, you will not see the likes of this ever again. I mean, these guys were so incredible. So I found Maceo and I was taking private lessons with him during the day, doing my show at night. And it was funny because, Maceo was just all rhythm. He didn't call us anything. It was just, hey, do one of these. And it'd be like, okay, and then every night I was doing, I'm a Yankee dude, George M, right? So, but it was life-changing at 20 years old, that for me, it came at that age that there was this whole world of tap dance out there. And it really was, that was it, man. Advocacy. Well, Chloe said something about, that I've been there since her journey with Sync Ladies has started. But there's a reason. People like Chloe, people like Ronald, they give back to young people. They give back. I have a son who's a professional dancer now, in large part because of Chloe Arnold. And because of Sammy Williams, who did chorus line with Ronald. These people that are so big in the, especially tap dance industry, it's completely, I really do think it's different than any other dance form in that respect. I think a lot of that goes back to its African roots. It goes back to storytelling. It goes back to passing things down. And that's at the heart and soul of our dance form, that giving back. I think all of us, have had a mentor in our life. And, that's why I've been around. It's not that I've been around. It's just Chloe's always there giving back. And I'm obviously an educator and I'm all about that. So, that's one thing just so beautiful about, these professionals, how they're bringing our young people in and creating this whole new generation of fabulous dancers and great people, great human beings.
I would like to add that Brandee, obviously she's a professor, here at Chapman, and this is very significant, okay? Might not be to you all because she's yours, but if I'm looking at the nation and tap dance, there are slim to no tap dance classes at a high level from a teacher who cares in any of the university programs around the country. You can count them. Maybe there are 10 maximum, right? Out of the entire nation. So this is very special. And I just want to point that out because I'm always dealing with young people all around the country with dreams. And they're like, where do I go to school? And anytime we're talking about Chapman, I'm like, yes. And there's Chapman with Brandee Lara. And that's a big deal because it's a motivator for someone coming to this university.
Thanks, Chloe.
Absolutely. And Brandee, can you tell us more about a big recognition you received a few years ago because of your teaching and your presence?
Oh, it was such an honor. Dance magazine, Dance Teacher magazine, they have annual awards that coincide with the Big Capizio ACE Awards. They honor dance teachers at private studios, at I think community, K-12, and higher education. And I was a dance teacher of the year in 2015 for my work at Chapman University. So that was really a thrill. Yeah, it was really a thrill. And Chapman has a relationship, I have to say, with TAP. You know, not many people know this. Fayard Nicholas came to Chapman, did a lecture demonstration. Good grief. I mean, this had to have been, let's see, not, I can't do the math, but it was a long time ago. And Gregory Hines, his son went to Chapman. So Gregory became a real friend of the university. And I was really fortunate, hello, as the TAP teacher. So that was some good times. We have such a history of bringing this art form to our students. And I have to say, it's not lost on me that this is a form that's primarily rooted in African dance. It is. American tap dance is. And of course, it's been influenced like everything in America because, we come from everywhere and we just add that salt and pepper to the pot. But it's not lost on me. And I just feel such a responsibility to not just teach the dance, but to teach the history. And I'm so fortunate at Chapman because I get to bring in people Chloe just taught my students on Monday. Sammy Williams came. Ronald doesn't know it yet, but he's going to be coming to Chapman next. So, we're pretty fortunate here.
Oh, I love that. And yeah, I think thinking of pathways for dancers that are interested in all styles at a collegiate level, I think is so important, and creating those opportunities to see what's possible, I think is so valuable. And looking at different careers, Ron, can you tell us about how TAP played an integral role in your career?
Well, when I got to New York, it was pretty much necessary to at least have a better than decent tap vocabulary to get in a whole lot of shows. And if you didn't have that, you usually were cut at auditions. They'd give like a simple sort of tap combination. And it was amazing how many jazz dancers didn't really know how to tap or were very awkward and clumsy about it. So it was something that I could pull up from my Ohio roots when I got to New York in 64. Yeah. And started auditioning those 2 years because I wanted to be a ballet dancer when I started out. And come to find out you were too short, too black, was basically what I was told at that time. So tap came along at a point in my life auditioning for shows when I started doing it for Broadway jobs. And you usually had a tap combination that you had to do at some point. And it came pretty easy to me because they were sort of rudimentary. They weren't like the Gregory Hines, Savion Glover kind of tap that we have come to know. And Gregory, I got to work with also, like Chloe and Fayard Nicholas also. I have a photo I sent to Napoleon of a AIDS benefit that he performed in, and I was just one of the other performers in 2005, just before he passed away. And that's one of my favorite photos that I took with him afterwards. And he's no bigger than me, or I was no bigger than him. And so it was like looking at a twin of myself, and I'm catching up on his age soon. And tapping was just unnecessary, put it that way. You really had to do it. When I did my one and only with Tommy Tune and Twiggy, the ensemble, the male ensemble was all black and the women were all white. So to Chloe's point, there were no black women on that ensemble because that was Tommy's idea to shake up Broadway. And it didn't because nobody made a big stink about the men being all black, the women all white in that show. And Charles Honey Coles was the co-star in that show. Watching him tap, I would always hear drums in my head because it's drums like Brandee was talking about. And tap is basically that African sound done with your feet. And I was never a Gregory Hines or a Savion kind of dancer, but it's in your body, I think, if you're a person of color automatically. So the fact that Brandee gravitated to it as a white girl is like, bravo, Brandee. I was thinking, there's not a lot of you. There really isn't. Other like Chloe was saying, 42nd Street, and there's never been an all-black company of 42nd Street. What is that about? There's never been an all-black tap show for women on Broadway. What is that about? Just
Hey, Chloe.
there's never been a black female tap star in the modern age. What is that all about? And it's just overlooked by, I think, the patriarchy of the males who run the business of show and the business of tap.
Mm-hmm.
I had to bust my ass because I was short. So imagine what it's like for a black female because you're black and female. And it still goes on, and it's really sad. It's unnecessary. I hope I live to see that change more and see females of color on Broadway dancing, because you guys deserve it. You really do.
Thank you, Ron.
Oh, I love that word, Ron. Yes, put it out into the universe. Let's have that be the next big project, Chloe.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, we're channeling it. Trust.
Yeah, necessary, you know?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Ronald, it's so funny listening to you say 1964 because black don't crack.
What? It's genetics. I tell people all the time.
I'm like 64.
Yep, I water it, feed it, and wash it, and the rest is genetics.
Like, I'm 1964.
I've had my health trials, you know, for like 20 years I wasn't working because I was so ill. And the fact that I'm one of the and I haven't been drinking, few brothers who contracted HIV/AIDS that is alive, because 99.9% of the black men that I knew that worked on Broadway, they've been long gone. And
I am so thankful for your
I fought like a mother, you know, or a father to stay alive. And I embraced my homosexuality and didn't hide behind it because of the pressures of the black community not supporting us.
Mm-hmm.
Those men caved into that. That's my personal opinion because I watch it happen. You know what's funny, and I'll not linger on that, is that I outed myself when I found out I was HIV positive alone. And the people that died long after me, they knew that I was living with this before they even announced it, or you found out after they died and it was in their obituary, or however they would push it up and not say that they had HIV/AIDS. And I miss those men because with them died our history, our playtime secrets, our auditions together. And it's a very lonely feeling at this age to know that I'm it of that generation that was a dancer that contracted that hellish virus. Now we got this new one and people don't even want to wear the damn mask. That's another whole story. You know, so being a survivor to tell my little history of tap as meager as it was, I think it was important that I had it and I'm here to tell it while I'm still tapping along on this planet at age 76, you know? It freaks me out too, because I don't know other than genetics why I'm still here, other than my feisty fire. It's just one of those what ifs, and any chance I get to share my history, I try to do that because it's necessary so it's not erased. Like the black female tap dancers from the 20s and 30s that people blocked out until recently, they've started to be found.
Right.
The people like Chloe and those other ladies like that are resurfacing it. And it makes me sad that there were brothers that didn't support you gals, Chloe, doing that. But testosterone is a terrible thing to waste.
Ron, I want to say thank you for being here with us, and thank you for being so open and candid, and for sharing the experience and the wealth of knowledge that you have accumulated from just the trials, and for being here. And we are so in awe of you and so appreciative of you, and just thank you for being here, and thank you for keeping going and inspiring all of us. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
I want to say thank you too, because I didn't know that about your story. And it's such a vulnerable thing to share. And it's so brave and it's so beautiful. And it's such a reminder. And it's so, so important that we just not stigmatize any
Right.
virus, any disease,
Absolutely.
Amen.
anything we're suffering with does not need to be hidden. We're not in life alone. We're in life together. And so I'm really inspired by your story and your testimony because it gives us all strength to be vulnerable. And then the vulnerability that you displayed is why you're still alive.
That's what Connie says to me all the time, and my friend. The
Yeah,
only person we knew that had HIV was Magic Johnson.
exactly.
Right.
Never actually sick from full-blown AIDS. So,
Right.
you know, he's like Trump. They get the best of medicines when you're, you know, important and you got a lot of money, and they got on.
Right.
I mean, he never was ill. You know,
Yeah.
people like me had to suffer. You know, I was once down to 110 pounds, so it was serious, you know. So if I don't,
We're
like I
so
said,
happy you're
I
here.
don't tell this story about being
Yes.
a survivor, so people know that people like me exist who's not an A-list star or even a B-list star at this point,
Yes.
famous. I am a survivor, and I think of that song all the time, you know.
Yes. Yes. Yes, thank you. And the representation matters, knowing that we can still be here and thrive and survive.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And
And this is an amazing moment too, because we're building community in this space and we're
Yes.
separate, and this is what this is about. And I think that's also what's at the essence of tap dance, right? Is the community
is.
building. So I would actually love to segue to talk more about what's at the heart and what's at the core of tap. The movement, the rhythm, the style, the expression. From a very basic standpoint, like very basic question, Chloe, how would you define tap dance?
well, tap dance to me is an art form where the dancer is the musician is the dancer. We speak with our feet, we speak through rhythm. It's communication, it's a language, it's survival, it's freedom, all of the things, you know, that like Ron has lived as a human. It's what it is. It is culture, it's soul, it's
Yes.
activity. That's what's so awesome about it is that the human doing it is who defines what it is. You know, like it's not set to one thing. That is what is so African about it, is that it is your personal testimony, your personal journey told through movement and rhythm. That's why I love it.
Ron, what about you? What's at the essence of tap for you?
It's hard,
That's true.
and it's harder the way Chloe does it, you know. And now I don't know if my feet and ankles would do that, the kind of that this younger generation is doing, and it's serious. I think Gregory Hines would be very, very proud. Well, I know he would, because even before he passed, there weren't a lot of ladies around doing what Chloe was doing. You know, like I said earlier, it's got this African feel of tell stories through your feet, through emotion through your feet, and it's hard to explain it. But once you get into a great tap routine that you like, it takes you someplace out of yourself, like ballet class or ballet dancing does. You're in another zone, and it's like it's out of body. And tap is out of body because you're so grounded and you're out of body at the same time. So it's like the two are fighting each other. Wouldn't you agree, Chloe?
Yeah, I mean, I think you're so right. I mean, it's first of all, the art form is incredibly difficult. However, there is a pathway for everyone. So it's not that you don't have to do the difficult steps to feel what Ron's talking about, which is this juxtaposition between the spiritual lightness to the grounded, rooted heaviness into the earth. It is a serious duality of what's happening. The spiritual component and then the physical component. And I think my approach perhaps has a lot of difficulty within it, but I also like to make it very accessible for day oneers. And Brandee's a great day one teacher.
I love that phrase, day oneers.
She's so
Day oneers.
That's a great phrase. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Because you have to bring them in, I think that's probably the really fun part about being at a university is that we get all these levels of experience, and tap is very stylization of tap is very dependent on from where you come and from whom you learned and from where they were. And it's so cool to get all these people together and go, okay, we're going to get on. It isn't the right page. It isn't the wrong page. It isn't the first page. It isn't the last page. We're all going to get on the same page for the right here and right now, so we can go forward in this space. And I think that's what's so cool about tap too, is like when you're, y'all know this, when you're teaching or you're doing, somebody calls one step a whatever and somebody calls it a whatever, and okay, it is, yes. And that's what's, again, so joyous about teaching is, okay, I'm going to call this. What'd you call it? Had anybody else called something when you were learning it? I mean, tap, yeah, it is what it is, and it evolves, and you evolve as a dancer. Like, Chloe was saying, and Ron, like you were saying, as you get older, you can still be a wonderful tap dancer. Are you dancing the same way that you did when you were 20? No. Or 30? No. I won't keep going. But, but there's those under 30 steps, and it's like, okay, and they can do those, maybe we can do it once to show them, and that'll be enough. Thank you. But that is the beauty of tap dancing, is that you see, I mean, Arthur Duncan is still tap dancing. I think he was born in 1933, if I'm not mistaken. Fayard, come on, look at how Fayard was still out there dancing. And these guys did not have the advantages that dancers have to. There were no sprung floors. Come on now. What? What is that?
Yeah.
Come on. So, yeah. So I can just keep going on that.
We've talked a lot about communities and creating lanes. Chloe and Syncopated Ladies went viral with the iconic video of her version of Beyonce's Formation. We actually have a phenomenal clip of that piece and how it evolved and became a call to action. Let's take a look at that clip.
Y'all haters corny with that Illuminati mess. Paparazzi catch my fly and my cocky fresh. I'm so reckless when I rock my Givenchy dress. I'm so possessive, so I rock his rock necklaces. My daddy Alabama, mama Louisiana. You mix that Negro with that Creole, make a Texas Bama. I like my baby hair with baby hair and afro. I like my Negro nose with Texas rock nostril. I earned all this money, but they never take the country. I just might be a black Bill Gates in a maybe, and I want it. Yeah, I want it. I dream it, I work hard, I grind till I own it. I twirl on my haters, I know where to get her. Twirl conmigo, casino, nuevo, noche. When you cause all this conversation, always stay gracious, best revenge is your paper.
Woo, I am so hyped up and ready to join this new Tap Nation. Let's go. Love it. Now this is the fun part of the day. We actually get to take some questions from our virtual audience. First question related to what we just saw. Chloe, how did it feel to go viral with the formation video and get so much recognition from everywhere, including Queen Bee herself?
Honestly, there are moments in time that get, like, it's like a moment that gets frozen, and then it's like it feels like this. Right? And that day, the day that she shared it, I was doing two things. One, I was at the Apple store to get something new, and then I was running to a rehearsal to choreograph something for the James Corden Late Late Show. I had 30 dancers. We had 2 days to put together a massive production. So I was really busy, and needed to focus. However, this magical thing has just happened. So I'm trying to manage this. And so I get to but the best thing to have anything like this happen is to be around dancers. So first I was in the Apple store. I told everyone in the Apple store, everyone pulled it up on the Apple and watched. It was the best place for that to happen. Then I got to rehearsal, all the dancers, we went crazy together. And then I got a message that Beyonce's team was gonna be calling me. So I'm in the middle of trying to choreograph this, production number, and I'm waiting on this call. Then the call comes mid-rehearsal. I'm like, talk to my assistants. I'm like, okay, keep it together, right? And then I'm on this call with her, and she's, it's Beyonce's publicist, and she's honestly commending the work we did, and I'm just like, and she's like, and I believe Beyonce's gonna want to meet you, and just share her own sentiments, but on behalf of the team, we want to just congratulate you. What you did to bring girls together around the world is really special to us, etc. So that day was a milestone because I didn't think that she was gonna see it. I really just did it because the song moved my spirit. And I was like, I have to do this. And I have too many women that I know that are awesome around the world, and I want to put them in it. So we're gonna do this. And that was my only thought. And so this magic that came, I ended up meeting with her. She hired us to go perform Formation in London to launch her clothing line. And also, we're the only people to perform her song Formation on television other than her. And we performed on Good Morning America. And honestly, her act of kindness in that moment and what she did for us, that was 2016. So for 4 whole years, we've been hired nonstop because of her act of kindness. And that is powerful. And for that to come from a Black woman, for her to have that much power, and then for her to give that to her sisters is so beautiful. So every time before we perform, we always give thanks to all of the incredible humans that have made it possible for us to be doing what we love. And we just try to keep that purpose at the center of everything we do. And we try to use the power that we have to open opportunities for others, because we know how much one act of kindness can mean to someone.
Oh, that's huge. I love that. And that's such a great reminder, especially I think as we're moving into this holiday season, we're moving into time to think about what we're thankful for, and a new year is upon us. And I think those are really great words. Another question that we got in was about the business of the industry, the business of the business. What should dancers know about the business of performing arts? And do you have any tips? Let's start with Ron.
Keep at it.
Yes.
Don't give up. If that fire is in your belly and it is burning, do not drown it.
Yes.
I want to.
You know, I keep harping. I don't want to keep harping back, but I will. At 5, well, the doctor told me I had surgery on my hand at the beginning of October, and then when they did the height thing, Mr. Dennis, you're only 5'2". No, I'm 5'4". There's no look, 5'2". I was 5'4", and she said, Mr. Dennis, you are 76, so you do shrink. Well, that burst my bubble. But my point is that you have to keep going, because me being short and dark skinned, when I got to New York, there were no little short black dancers like me running around at that time. A few years after I got there was a couple others, and you have to, like I said, keep that fire stoked and don't give up, because at some point somebody's going to recognize your talent and hire you. How far it goes depends on the nature of the business and what shows are coming up and where you are at the right time. And just be diligent and take care of what your heart and your fire is telling you to do. Because performing is a gift when you do it in front of audiences that I can't even think of the word. You're elevated. You're giving back all your hard work to an audience that's had hard days of their own probably that day, and they're going to the theater. Maybe the husband doesn't want to go. The wife drags them along. You give back to that audience your soul, and they get a little bit of piece of it for 2 hours.
Amen.
Brandee, any tips?
Well, I think Ron said it best. You know, you have to keep at it. And by the way, I just have to say this, that A Chorus Line on Broadway was one of the first shows I saw. And I don't know if y'all have ever seen the clip of Ron Dennis in A Chorus Line, which we all know, you know, is a history-making, theater-changing, show business changing show, and especially for dancers, dear God. But I was just recently watching Ronald on YouTube. I don't even know if it's there legally, but whatever. And I mean, that show for me was such an inspiration. You just never know when you're inspiring someone else, and you inspired me. So there's that. I mean, yeah.
Just right after that, Brandee, sorry to interrupt. Right after that was when I got sick. That cut my career in half.
Wow.
And changed after that.
Wow.
Here I is, and here we are together.
And here we are.
Yes, we are together. We are here. Chloe, any tips?
Yeah. So I quoted you, Ron, on Facebook already.
Yes,
and I'm gonna quote you a little later. I'm be posting your quote and tagging you. It's so true. There is, man, there like that. The word fire in your belly is so real, because you have to have
it.
Conviction that you are living your purpose, and you have to dedicate your spirit to seeing that dream come to fruition. And so what that means, in my opinion, is some like adjectives to some things, some verbs, things you can do. You imagine it first, right? Then you write it down, say it out loud for everybody to know, even your haters, everybody.
Especially your haters.
Exactly. This is what you're gonna do. Then work your butt off. Train. Then create. Share. Repeat. And if you stay surrounded by lifted people, you'll find yourself lifted.
Lifted people.
Yes. Lifted people.
I love that.
Beyond.
Yes, lifted
Amazing
people.
quotes today.
Great.
I know.
We could
Lifted
start a
people.
clothing line. We could put them on candles.
So true.
COVID business.
Right? We're getting that copyrighted as we speak. I just want to say.
Yep.
Actually, that is actually our time for the day. I know this is
What?
an amazing night of conversation and sharing and words of wisdom and hope and uplifting and community building. And I'm ready to like get my tap shoes out of the back of my
Yay!
closet back on. I'm ready.
Okay.
Asking each of you, do you have any recommendations for folks that are interested in watching more tap or getting into tap themselves or branching out of their normal studio tap and they want to get into jam circles? Any resources or words of wisdom to help them find their way? Chloe?
We have an event coming called Tap Into the Future, December 12th and 13th online. It's free for introductory students. There are panels and Zooms and parties and jams, and there are also classes for all levels. So we have 25 master classes. It's going to be awesome. So that's online, tapfest.com, or message me on any of the social media platforms.
Amazing. Brandee, any tips for viewing or getting into tap or switching it up?
Well, same thing. I think we're all available on social media. And if somebody reaches out, that's, again, a beautiful thing about the TAP community. You will get more information than you will ever need in your whole life. Well, there's a jam here and you can come here and there's a class there. So yeah, reach out. There is something for everyone. That's the beauty of tap dancing. You can do it if you're 2 or 120, you know?
Absolutely. Ron, any...
By the way,
Yes.
I am soliciting donations for moisturizer because this is cracking. I'm just saying. Go ahead.
Ron, any final words? You are the master of not cracking.
Yes.
Like I said, DNA, if I could share it, I would. You know, if I could share my survival and give a little piece of my blood to people, I would. You know, that's how I feel about that. I hope this COVID thing calms down soon so Brandee and Chloe can get real people in a studio again.
Yeah.
I'll drag my own behind in there, a senior class, you know, something not too difficult to kill me. Because I miss my own little class, small as it was. I miss that studio time. So I miss the wonderful women miss their studio time with people and sweat and smell of bodies and sawdust and the whole thing. And it's our church. Dance is our church.
Yes.
We need to be
Yes.
sanctuary.
Oh, I love that.
So we can be back dancing.
That's a quote.
Yes, I think that's the perfect way to end today. Dance is our church.
Hello.
Yeah,
Yes.
Yes. Debbie knows it's church. It really is.
it's church.
Mhm.
Thank you all so much for being with us tonight. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Really appreciate all of you.
You're so welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you, Napoleon.
Just when I think I'm forgotten, I get one of these offers. So thank you guys so much for having me on this. It really makes my heart swell. It really does.
Ron, you will never be forgotten.
Yeah, I was gonna
We will
say,
make sure of
no.
that.
Say that too. I'm about
Everyone watching out there, we will make sure that does not happen.
Oh, yeah.
You have our promise. Thank you all so much, everyone. The
Thank
Musco
you.
Center Creative Fund makes At the Musco Online programs like this one possible, while also helping to fund the presentation of world-class artists, ensembles, and speakers on our stage in the hopeful near future. Please consider donating at muscocenter.org. Please take a moment to tell us about your experience. In the chat, we love your feedback. On behalf of Musco Center for the Arts, the Department of Dance at the College of Performing Arts, and Chapman University, thank you for joining us at the Musco. We hope to see you soon. Have a great night, and remember, you are ever a dancer. Good night.